Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my performance review of Andrew Wiggins' signature shoe, right? So he has a signature shoe with Peak, and this is the Andrew Wiggins one, or the AW one. It retails for 130 bucks, so if you guys do want to cop, I try to leave a link in the description box. But let's get it started off with the Tracciones. So in this colorway, this is kind of like a semi-translucent rubber, and we can see Andrew Wiggins' logo going throughout this entire outsole, which is actually a pretty cool design. So how is the traction? The traction is really freaking good on a clean court, right? Amazing bite. You have a pretty nice loud squeak as well, which does feel nice. However, if you're playing on a dusty court, it's not amazing. It picks up dust really quickly, and I mean, I would say the wipe is pretty easy, right? But it is like not just an easy 1 to 2 wipes. You have to kind of like wipe a couple of times, and you do have to wipe pretty damn frequently, which is kind of annoying. So if you're playing on a dusty court or you don't like to wipe, then this is definitely not the best option. If you don't mind wiping, or I guess if you're playing on like a slightly dusty court, then you should be okay, but not the best performance on dust. I mean, it wasn't dangerous, however, right? If you let a lot of dust like build up on the outsole, it wasn't like dangerous. You wouldn't be sliding out like crazy or anything. It just wasn't a great bite. It's just sometimes, you know, for me, it's just annoying, and I did have to wipe very frequently, right? So on dust, not so good. On an outdoor court, you should be fine. You know, Chinese companies, as you guys all know, usually make very durable outsoles for their demographic, just because Chinese people, I heard they play mostly on an outdoor court, right? So the rubber is on the harder side of things. As far as the grooves go, it's not super thin, and also the grooves are quite deep, so you should be fine on an outdoor court. So overall, the traction, okay, so I am playing on a very clean, immaculate court. There is one court, like LA Fitness. They just resurfaced it, and that I've had a really good time in this shoe on that court, right? But I've also visited some other LA Fitnesses and also 24-hour fitness courts, and they're a little bit dirtier. And I wasn't having a terrible time, but it was just a little bit more annoying, right? So on dust, not so good. Clean court, I was having a great time, right? It's also, as you guys can see here in the middle of the outsole, they're calling this the foothold, right? So it's basically just a midfoot shank plate for better torsional support. And moving on to the heel to toe transition is overall pretty damn smooth in the AW1, right? So here in the heel, we have a nice rounded shape, and also there's a nice little bit of compression from the actual midsole. However, we do have this like plastic, you know, you guys can hear, right? It's a pretty hard plastic, so it does cage the midsole a good amount, which does kind of suck. And then here in the forefoot, we have a nice rounded shape and a good amount of forefoot flex, but no flex here in the midfoot. So overall, heel to toe transition is super smooth when you're doing heel dominant strides down the court, right? When you're bringing the ball up, right? So now moving on to the cushioning setup. So the cushioning setup is quite nice. The one thing I didn't like about it, however, is the court feel. The court feel, you do feel kind of high up off the ground. I would say it's a little bit higher up than average. Which isn't terrible, but it is something that I really noticed when I was switching shoe to shoe, right? So obviously, you know, when I play basketball, I try to bring other shoes, especially shoes that I like to play in, just to see how it compares, right? So I would switch from shoes like the Jaw 1, right? And also like the WOW 10 or the AC 11, which has really good court feel. And then I was switching to these, and I'd be like, ooh, it's a little bit high up off the ground. But of course, it does make up for it with the cushion. So as far as the tech goes, I'm sorry if I get it wrong, but there's a lot of tech. They're naming a whole bunch of foams in this. And as far as like on Famuji, there's not a whole lot of like description, especially for the tech specs. It just says what's in there, right? So, but anyways, so it says they're using P Ultralight. It says P Ultralight right here. And then it says it's using Peak Tai Chi, which is a very nice foam. And then also P Soon. It says P Soon right here. So yeah, 3 different types of foam, right? That's kind of weird, but either way, it doesn't really matter because foams, it can differ, right? So Phylon can feel very soft in some Nikes, and they can feel very stiff. Also for Lunarlon, React, and stuff like that. And there's different ways to use Zoom as well, and it can feel different from shoe to shoe, right? So I'm just gonna tell you guys how it felt, and it felt pretty damn nice. So although the court feel isn't the best, impact protection is absolutely amazing, right? Impact protection, your feet are not gonna hurt even on super hard impacts. I mean, Andrew Wiggins is a big guy. He's very athletic as well, so he's gonna need great impact protection. That's what this shoe provides. provides. Also, it's super soft for step and comfort, right? So as far as the insole goes, the insole is pretty damn nice. You know, there is a good amount of foam. It's soft. It does add to the step and comfort, but also underneath that, we have a very like foamy strobo board, right? So foamy strobo board, and then underneath that, we have the very soft foam. So step and comfort is actually very, very nice and comfortable as well. You can feel your foot digging into the foam. So step and comfort is great as well. It's comfortable and stuff like that. Not a whole lot of bounce back, how I would say. You know, it's not super bouncy, especially compared to like React or Boom. So it's on the softer side of things. So for the most part, it's a very, very nice cushioning setup if you're looking for like stuff like impact protection, step and comfort, also just overall comfort, and also I guess like compression. It doesn't have a crazy amount of compression here in the heel, but it's still overall pretty soft. So yeah, I would say the overall cushioning setup is super nice, but obviously if you prefer or if you want court feel, then this is not the best cushioning setup, right? And now moving on to the upper. So the upper is basically just a mesh material, right? And it's really, really thin, especially here in the toe box. So you guys can see it moves super duper easily when I press it with my finger, right? So it's very, very thin, but there are some fuse overlays, right? So it kind of dips into the top of the toe box, and it's a pretty stiff fuse. So it does add for a little bit of support. I do like that. And also there is more fuse around the tip of the toe. So it does feel nice. You know, it feels comfortable. It conforms to your foot extremely well, but also it feels pretty damn supported, right? It stays really, really thin here in the midfoot as well. And then for the tongue, it's like a really thin tongue. Look at that. There's like pretty much zero padding. And then underneath that, we have like a very open mesh as well with Andrew Wiggins logo with this tag. So I don't really like the tongue really at all, and also it's a half booty construction tongue, which does give you a better overall one-to-one fit, but it's just a really thin material. Not a huge fan, right? I like to have a little bit more padding here in the tongue, in my personal opinion. And then here in the ankle area, we actually do have some Achilles pads, which feels very nice. It improves the lockdown as well. And it's pretty damn cozy here in the back of the shoe. On the sides, it's more minimal. There's not a whole lot of padding like on the sides of the shoe, but in the back where your Achilles is, it does feel pretty nice. So overall, I mean, 130 bucks, I guess it's not bad. Like for quality, it's definitely not great, right? This mesh material, not the best. The fuse feels a little cheap, especially for the tongue. The tongue material feels pretty cheap as well, but on foot, it's thin. Ventilation also is really, really good. Conforms to your foot very well. It feels overall supportive. So on foot, not bad. Quality, not the best, right? All right, moving on to the fit. So the fit was really weird for me, and I did not like playing in the shoe because of the fit. And it kind of segues into support as well, which I'll get into. So I went true to size, and lengthwise, I was good to go. Right, pretty much my toes go like really close to the edge of the shoe. However, the toe box is extremely roomy, and I don't like that. You know, just in my personal opinion, I like to have a very snug toe box. For example, like the jaw one is super snug. The KD15 is super snug. I just like to have a very snug fit, and because I don't like my foot moving around inside of the shoe when I'm playing, right? However, in the Andrew Wiggins one, the AW1, because it's so damn roomy, when I was doing lateral movements, my foot would just move side this or like diagonally kind of. So I'm doing a lateral movement, my foot would go like this inside of the shoe. So it just didn't feel good. It didn't feel super locked down either because of the super roomy toe box. And that's just my personal opinion. I do know people that don't mind that really at all. So if you don't, or if you want a roomy fit in the toe box, which is kind of weird, I don't know why you'd want that, but if you don't mind that, or that's what you want, then obviously this is a great shoe. But if you want good lockdown in the toe box, and also if you want a snug fit, this definitely is not the shoe to get, right? Also, it's a pretty weird fit because here in the toe box, it's pretty wide, right? But then it gets pretty narrow here in the midfoot. So yeah, my foot was moving around here in the toe box a little bit, but here in the midfoot it felt pretty good, which is weird. So yes, this is a very awkward fitting shoe for me, and I guess Andrew Wiggins has a very different foot shape than mine, but yeah, definitely not good. If you want a roomy fit or you have a wide foot, going true to size, you should be fine, and I feel like this is a great shoe for you. But if you have a skinny foot or you like to have a snug fit in your ball shoes, that definitely this is not a great shoe, right? So there's that. Moving on to support and lockdown. So support and lockdown for lateral containment, I was good to go, right? So my foot was not moving out of the footbed, as you guys can see for the lateral counters. We have this plastic piece coming up acting as a sidewall, and also the rubber coming up, right, the outsole. So for the forefoot, you're good to go. Also here in the heel, we have the foam coming up acting as the sidewall, and there's an internal TPU heel counter. So Lateral containment, my foot is not coming out of the footbed, and even if you're a bigger dude, you should be fine. However, like I said, because of the roomy fit and also because of the wider fit, no matter how tight I, lace down the laces, my foot would still move around inside of the shoe. And because of that, I just didn't feel as responsive as I wanted. And coupling that with also like the heavier weight and the traction not being so good on a dusty court when I was playing on a dusty court, I didn't feel super quick when I was playing this, which sucks. So that's something that I obviously like. But obviously if that's not your play style, you don't need that type of response, then obviously it's not going to be super important to you. But to most guards, this probably isn't the best shoe, right? And as far as the lateral stability, I was good to go. We do have a pretty nice outrigger. You have a very wide base as well here in the forefoot. So lateral stability was very, very good. And then heel lockdown was very good as well. It's just the overall fit for me wasn't great. That's why I didn't really like the lockdown here in the forefoot and here in the midfoot. All right, moving on to the weight of the shoe. So this shoe overall does feel not super heavy, but it does feel on the heavier side of things. So it's 13.15 ounces, not super heavy. It's a little bit heavier than average. Let's check the other shoe, 13.2 ounces, right? So yeah, it is on the heavier side of things and definitely does feel bottom heavy, right? Especially because all this foam, it does feel a little chonky, right? Especially here in the heel. But yeah, like I was just explaining, because of the fit, my foot moving around inside of the shoe, I just didn't feel super quick when I was playing in it. So I didn't really like playing in the shoe that much because of that, right? Moving on to the aesthetics, it's okay. Yeah, it looks like a boot. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the aesthetics. So yeah, I do like the colorway though. But tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, yeah, definitely not my favorite shoe. I was not having the best. It wasn't terrible. I had an okay time playing in it, but I definitely wanted to play in other shoes. You know what I mean? When I was testing these. So I'll say this: if you want a shoe that has very good impact protection, which is super comfortable, has a very roomy fit, and you don't mind that roomy toe box, and you don't need amazing traction, then I guess this is a good shoe. But for the most part, I wouldn't really recommend it to you guys. In my personal opinion, it definitely wasn't great, right? But anyways, that about concludes my review of Andrew Wiggins' first signature shoe with Peak, the AW1. Again, if you guys do want to cop, I'll try to leave a link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.